Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day, I should say. It's me, Nick Hausman here, House of Wrestling, and I am joined here, as I am always on Wednesday and Friday, by my good friend, Innes McVey. Innes, thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me, Nick. I was hoping one of these days maybe we could, talk about nice things on this show and not have to mention a certain Vince McMahon, but unfortunately, today is not that day. So maybe this can be like a running gag. Can we not mention Vince McMahon on one of these podcasts? Who knows?
I think that's a running gag for other outlets that just don't like talking about this stuff. I don't know if it's a gag. I think it's more of a selling point, right? You know? Yeah.
I mean, people want to click it, unfortunately. I mean, no fair to them, but like, if we could have maybe a nice show, but we don't have to talk about that would be great. But maybe we'll get that on Friday. Who knows?
We have some fun stuff we'll talk about here. We haven't done a House of Wrestling podcast since last Friday when the Cody Rhodes saga really began. So we'll talk all about
of course.
We'll talk about that. We got Rosie Agawa, Stardom founder. He's out at Bushi Road. Cash Wheeler got an update on him. Mercedes Mone to AEW rumors really flared up. If we've got time, a little Vengeance Day talk. And at the end of the show, after all the club housekeeping at the end, I'm going to air my interview with Nia Jax, which is now available for free on YouTube. But a little thing here at the end of the show just for everybody to enjoy.
Fair. I think that's, it's a fun little interview. I've seen bits and pieces of it. And I think it's a fun little thing to check out.
Fun little interview where I ask her about her boss and the founder of her company. She's the only one I asked about the Vince allegations, and I've gone through why I felt I guess I asked Cody too. Obviously, the presser, he's talent, but Nia, yes, wanted to get Nia's take on this one. Ugh.
I feel like she's the kind of like all the options you had. I feel like she's probably the best one for reasons we discussed last week.
Yeah. So let's dive into the latest Vince McMahon news to start off the show. Now, the Hollywood Reporter put out a new detailed piece looking at the downfall of Vince McMahon called "How Vince McMahon Got TKO'd." Couple of the big talking points coming out of it that everybody's buzzing about here this morning. Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, the two heads of TKO, they apparently pressured Vince to resign from his position. There was also a question in here about how much influence Vince McMahon still carries as the majority shareholder of the company. We'll get into that a little bit more as well. But it was also stated here that WWE internally never felt like their TV deals were at risk. But the Slim Jim sponsorship being pulled really became a big problem for TKO because they've seen how lucrative sponsorship deals can be in the UFC. And I guess that's what made them jump to arms and go to Vince and ask him to resign. Which is weird and gross to me because it doesn't sound like the actual allegations are why he's gone. It sounds like Slim Jim is the reason he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you've got this big parent company who's been working with UFC for so long and has kind of got their sort of groove down with UFC. I think ultimately they are going to be focused on the business stuff, unfortunately. And, I'm quite surprised they thought the TV deals were safe. I think there was a line in there about them thinking that the Netflix deal could maybe have been at risk if this came out a few days earlier. But, I mean, I'd expect that considering it's more of a online, more open-focused sort of platform versus cable. But yeah, it's a real shame. But I mean, I'm not shocked that they're focusing more on the business side of things.
Well, and it was noted that Netflix has this 5-year escape clause, right? And they're going to be able to monitor the situation, see how it's handled. And that's the thing about Vince, right? As much as Vince has resigned on paper, right? He still has the majority shares of this company. Now, we'll find out what happens with this SEC and Department of Justice investigation. There's a chance they'll take those shares away from him. That is an absolute real thing.
Absolutely.
That's something the U.S. government over here, they'll do that. But as it stands, Vince still has a sizable investment in that company. He still has a lot of loyalists, I'm sure, within the ranks there. I can tell you firsthand, I know there's a lot of detractors in the company. A lot of people that don't want to take Vince's call at the moment. But I guess that kind of lingering question of, is Vince going to be able to pick up the phone and affect the direction of people's careers from a distance remotely, even if he does not have that power on paper? You know?
Yeah, I mean, the question I kind of had for you is like we've talked about how like he kind of has this influence from behind the scenes. Do you ever think he could like obviously he can't come back now the way he did before, but do you think he could come back in any sort of official capacity and be like, "Oh, I'm back," or is it more just like a behind the scenes thing? Do you think?
Not anytime soon. No, it would all have to be
No.
in the shadows. And like I
Yeah.
had somebody bring this up to me on Twitter this morning, and it was a situation where I thought about what happened with Vince after he came back from his initial retirement, right?
Yeah.
He came backstage, he caused a lot of problems. This was before TKO had come along and bought the company, and Vince then chose to work remotely because he saw the distractions it was bringing to the company. I think he probably learned from that. If I had to guess, right? I think he probably learned how much how much he could influence the product from afar, as opposed to physically being in the gorilla position and tearing people down or whatever he wants to do. So the fear would be it would be closer to the model we've been seeing before TKO went under, where there's just not a label attached to Vince's name, but he still has so much money and power and influence that people there would still take his calls and hypothetically work on his behalf, which we wouldn't be able to know right now. We don't know. And it's just kind of a scary what if at the moment.
Yeah, the unknown at the minute. Yeah, it's a shame, but I hope that we do get some sort of like something comes out of this lawsuit that does definitively either curb his control over the company or make him face justice for what he's been alleged of.
Yeah. News Nation, they caught up with Konstantin Kairos, who was the former lawyer attorney for Ashley Massaro. Now, Konstantin Kairos, he got, not exactly he's not exactly the cleanest of lawyers, right? There's a lot of controversies around this guy. He is a bit of I'll jump on anything that's getting attention kind of guy, which doesn't surprise me to hear him jumping up in this conversation. But regardless, spoke some truth here, I felt, in this particular interview. And again, on News Nation, who's the producer at News Nation getting these people, right?
I know. They've got more stories than any other major outlet somehow. Maybe even more than Wall Street Journal. It's weird.
Ridiculous that News Nation is all over this thing. Anyway. Konstantin Kairos jumps on here. Konstantin with a K, Kairos with a K. For those wondering, it sounds like a wrestler. He's not.
It does. It sounds like an NXT 2.0 name, really.
God, okay, I got to jump. It's a very serious topic. I have to stop dwelling on this figure. I have to stop dwelling on Konstantin Kairos, a man I've covered in the past. So Konstantin Kairos, he comes out, he does this show, and he is asked about, if Ashley who tragically took her life in 2019, I believe, or 2000,
2019, I believe.
2019, 2019, it was 2019. Took her life before that. Well, it came out after her death as part of this kind of class action suit that Konstantin Kairos was trying to bring, and I think was ultimately seen by the Supreme Court and dismissed or something like that.
Yeah.
But his as part of it, he got all these various stories from people that used to work for the company describing the kind of rampant abuse and kind of hostile work environment they were all working in. And he described how Ashley Massaro said that to him, that Vince would be, I guess he's heard this from others, Vince would be in rooms, non-specific, with these women, these young women, these divas, and would be kissing the women, right? And when it came time for him to kiss her, she rejected his advances and ultimately met the same fate. Now, there's a darker side to the story as well, where Ashley alleges that during a tour in Kuwait, I believe that was further back. I think that was like 2009.
That was in the mid 2000s, if I remember right.
Yeah. So, regardless, she says she came to Vince McMahon and the company and said, "This happened to me. This military person on this base drugged and assaulted me," and Vince told her to keep it quiet in order to protect the company's relationship with the military. And ultimately, of course, she took her life after all of this. Very sad story. And, just another example, really just how rampantly this was known. I'm continuing to talk to people who were just like, well, we just thought it was this. Oh, we just thought it was that. Oh, whatever. But it would appear that a lot of people knew that Vince was acting extremely inappropriately and abusing his position with various people, and
Yeah,
that part just seems apparent, you know.
Yeah, this has been an issue that's been going on for. This isn't just an issue with Janelle Grant over the last however like 2-3 years that happened back in like 2019 through to 2022. This has been an issue with Vince and probably stuff that we don't know about and might come out, might not in the next couple of weeks, months, days. But this is not just a recent issue. This is something that's been happening for decades, and we're only just now starting to see the full severity of it.
All right, well, we're going to move off the Vince stuff here. We'll keep an eye on it, but we got more time here today for the first time in a while to talk about other things. And, of course, the other big story, which is kind of Vince-related, because you put your tinfoil hat on, there's a lot of people that seem to think this whole cacophony of noise that is going on around the men's WrestleMania 40 main event picture is a distraction from what is going on with the Vince McMahon story, something else for people to get angry about and talk about and get passionate about that does not involve sex trafficking. Do you think that there is merit to the idea that everything we're about to discuss here is being done as this kind of just intentional smoke bomb to get people off the track?
At first I didn't. I would say until maybe about yesterday I didn't. But since it's come out that apparently Triple H knew about The Rock wanting to be in the main event, as we'll discuss in a little bit.
Right.
I think it's weird that he would book Cody to win the Rumble, and yet go about the weird way they did on Raw and SmackDown the week after, to then, unless they were purposefully trying to instigate a reaction, to then swerve away. It would make sense, because otherwise, why would he book Cody to win the Rumble? It doesn't. There's not really many other. That's the first logical conclusion you have to jump to.
It's wild, Innes. You're right.
It's weird.
Dude, it is super weird. 100%.
Like, Triple H is not stupid. There's no way he would put Cody in that main event and have him win the Rumble unless and then no Rock was winning. It's really odd.
Do you kind of feel like they're winging it?
I don't know. I think on Raw maybe they were. I think by SmackDown, I think they had something in mind, because the Raw thing of like pushing the "we want Cody" thing. By that point, I'm convinced. Right, they're in on this. They're either they have sidetracked to jump on this, or this was their plan from the beginning, which I wouldn't put it past them. But it's a very weird situation.
Okay, the more professional way to say this would be the story is fluid. This is a situation that is very fluid right now. The redneck in me says they're winging it. Like, this feels like
they could very well be.
Because it is okay. So here let's talk to some of the things that is just brought up here. Sure. So we found, obviously, everybody knows what happened on SmackDown. Cody brings out Rock. They do a face-to-face. The match isn't official. Tomorrow is going to be the WrestleMania 40 free media and press event, which I will be at. I have not received an official credential, but was told by somebody in the company you will be getting access, which
excellent.
Good sign. For what it was worth, I believe the reason I had to reach out to get this and confirm before I checked into my flight, which I just did 10 minutes ago to go to Vegas, is I am told they are overwhelmed by the amount of people that are reaching out to cover this event, participate in this event.
Of course. Yeah.
Just as a little side tangent, I'm very interested to see how much of a madhouse this thing is tomorrow. It's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena. I kind of thought it might be like outside of it, as like an outdoor kind of rah-rah in the parking lot. I'm starting to think they're going to fill this whole place up with free fans.
Yeah, well, they've got free fans, and they've got like packages and stuff. There's like packages that are like $500 and $2.5 grand to like meet Triple H and stuff.
Well, so it's like, I mean, make a buck anyway.
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna. You may as well make the money off it, but like, it's odd that this. I mean, it's gonna get so much attention, not just from wrestling media, but from mainstream media as well. Because, like, I believe the Rock and Triple H are both going to be available for interviews. So, I mean, people are going to jump on asking them about this and the Vince stuff. You mean, you have to, but
and Cody will be there, and Bianca, and here I got the whole. You want me to read the whole list of people?
Sure, go ahead.
I can find it real quick. This isn't hard. What are we?
Because it's like all the really notable people and people that are typically like they are top end media people. So they're putting everybody out for this.
Well, I was surprised. We got name checked kind of in that Hollywood Reporter thing earlier. All right, here we go. Oh man, no, this isn't the media one. Where's the?
If I remember right, the Rock, Triple H, Cody is on there, Bianca is on there. That's 4. I think there's about 10 overall.
All right, here we go. Media alert. So the media arrival starts at 2:30. That's 90 minutes after I land on the ground. Dwayne The Rock. Here's everybody that should be available for me to talk to. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Roman Reigns, Triple H, Seth Rollins, Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, because YOLO, and Montez Ford. And we're releasing all these interviews I'm doing kind of almost one a day at this clip right now over in the clubhouse. Yeah. We're going to be flush.
Inundated.
flush with content. Great time to become a clubhouse member. Anyway, it's going to be an absolute madhouse. I'm wondering if they're going to put it like outside of the parking lot, inside the actual T-Mobile Arena, like a big. I don't know, man.
I think they're doing it as like a press conference. I imagine it's got to be in the arena because I almost certainly they're going to announce Roman versus Rock as the main event. So I would imagine they have to do it as like
but is it going to be like a Raw stage and then a whole like 12, 15, however many people can
possibly
T-Mobile? 20,000 free fans just hanging from the rafters.
Why not? I mean, it'll get them some attention away from Vince. So maybe
the smoke bomb gets bigger, my friend. Filling the room here, the entire T-Mobile Arena. So anyway, this is being set up. The betting odds people are already out there listing this match as if it is happening. Roman is slightly favored, but we'll see if that match even happens. The Observer is the one who said that Triple H was aware The Rock was facing Roman at WrestleMania when Cody Rhodes won the title. The Fightful says the plan as of now is to do Rock, Roman, and Cody versus Seth, which they reiterated again on Monday night. Cody's been professional about everything, was made aware of the plans before Friday's SmackDown. Brian Gewirtz, Rock's longtime right-hand man, he's back in the fold now. He's going to be working with Rock on all of his creative. He's likely going to be more hands-on. I would imagine he'll be there tomorrow at the press event.
For sure.
And The Rock and Endeavor, bottom line, they're motivated to do this because they think it'll make the most money. That's it. They think this will make the most money. But with that in mind, WrestleVote's reporting they were not anticipating the Rocky sucks chants, the hatred. Ava, NXT GM, had to deactivate her Twitter because she was getting death threats because her father was taking Cody Rhodes' role. Yeah, dude, they poked the bear here, and they had to know they were doing it.
I think they were expecting a reaction. I don't think they were expecting a backlash quite like this because, I think over Saturday and Sunday, hashtag We Want Cody Rhodes was like the 5th biggest Twitter trend in the world. It was the number 1 in the US. It's gone crazy, and I think even outside, I've seen a few people outside of the wrestling bubble tweet it. So it's gone, I think, a lot further than they thought it would, for sure.
Yeah, well, and hey, look, if the whole thing was to make Cody fight through this, so he's an even more likable underdog babyface. By the way, who has won the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. What an underdog!
And has earned the right to a main event opportunity, but he's just not getting it now.
He's beat World's Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins every time they faced off, even when he's injured. Babyface underdog Cody Rhodes in this situation.
Here's my question to you. What happens if Seth Rollins can't wrestle at WrestleMania? Something with his injury goes wrong. What's their plan there? Because it feels like they're relying a lot on this idea of Cody and Seth when, let's be honest, Seth's status is uncertain as well.
I think if Seth has to show up like Black Knight style on one stumped leg, just throwing punches, I think he will do that. If for some reason something horrible happened with Seth, I mean, look, they're winging it now. They'd be thighing it at that point. I mean, get the whole chicken in there.
They do have other options. I mean, to be fair, but it just seems odd to me that they're putting so much on Seth when he doesn't. I mean, likely he will be there, but I mean, you never know with injuries.
Well, they're doing a good job of keeping Drew hot. They're doing a good job, I think, of they're trying to reheat up Sami Zayn again.
True, they are,
but then they had him lost to Drew, so not as hot as Drew. Drew seems to be the catch-all contingency plan here,
and Drew's not there apparently following April. So, Another weird situation that they've got.
He's staying. I can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm convinced he is. Yeah.
I mean, how do you leave? You know, you got a hot hand right now. You're never
Exactly.
gonna get this kind of situation again.
No.
Most
Especially like a guaranteed match with Punk when he comes back. I mean, this is the hottest Drew's ever been. He's not gonna leave. No.
Making shirts about the Punk feud, like you're gonna
So
not. You're
good.
not.
I love this. I love it so much. It's the best.
You're not gonna go through with the Punk feud after all this. I don't think so.
No. No.
We did get some Punk news here from the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Ace Steel said that WWE wants Punk to do commentary while he's injured. Which, I mean, NXT would be the logical spot, I guess, with Booker kind of out. How do you feel? What would you do? You want him in the booth?
I would like him on NXT. I wouldn't want him on Raw or SmackDown. I think you have to keep him away from those people. I mean, maybe you could build up like something with the Drew and have him like do like a Nigel McGuinness, Daniel Bryanson kind of thing where, these constantly teasing and doing like little jabs at each other. But I would rather him be on NXT because, he knows the people down there, Cora Jade and whatnot, adore him, Roxanne Perez. I think that would be maybe interesting. It would be a shame because obviously they brought Wade in down there and I wouldn't want to see him go away, but I think there's an opportunity there just to at least keep him in the fans' mind.
Yeah, I don't want to see him on commentary, and he's good on commentary. No, yeah. I think some time away to build some mystique back around him is probably. I think you run the risk of kind of overexposing him if you trot him out there like that. People kind of see him as a commentator when he does come back. I don't know, because you're used to seeing him doesn't mean as much. They're doing such a good job of keeping him alive in storyline with the stuff like Drew McIntyre, where he's this kind of looming presence that I think when he does return, will have a bigger pop. We'll see. I mean, he's got a lot of time to kill. That's totally in his court. I know he enjoys doing stuff like that.
There's other opportunities as well. You could do like there was people online suggesting that maybe you could tie him in with the Cody feud and be like, why did you give up your main event to The Rock? What are you doing? And act him as kind of like a figure that kind of gets Cody back in the game or something like that. You can maybe do something there, but I don't know. There's options, certainly.
Yeah, we'll see. We do know that Nia Jax is going to take on Rhea Ripley in her backyard of Australia at WWE Elimination Chamber. We've also seen the women's chamber match taking shape here. Becky Lynch going to be in the chamber. Rhea Ripley's going to look like a rock star here.
Absolutely.
I've purposefully been talking about how the men's WrestleMania main event picture is catching everyone's attention because when you just say main event picture and you start talking Cody, Rock, Seth Rollins, it's like the women are fighting.
The women are there.
The women are also wanting to main event WrestleMania right now. I hope the Elimination Chamber. I mean, you look at how the card is taking shape right now with this match, the chamber match. There's the tag match, and there's a looming men's chamber match. But the majority of the card right now is more female oriented, and they're really going to put Rhea over. I hope that this show, there's something coming out of it to get people on the hook for Rhea's program. I think Bayley and Io, we got some time. There's a story you could tell there that'll grab people. I don't know if it's a main event closing thing or not, but Rhea has been so hot this past year. People don't want to see her lose her title. I hope we see a big challenger coming out of the chamber or some otherwise setting up a match for her at Mania.
Yeah, I feel like she doesn't really have. I mean, the long-standing rumor I think has been her and Becky, which I think would be a really good match. But there's no real story there. I mean, they have like 2 months, 3 months to build that up, so they do have time certainly. But it feels like whereas Bayley and Io, I think, has that pre-established story and that path is already kind of set, and we know where that's going. Rhea is kind of an open book right now, and it's I'm interested to see where it goes.
Real quickly, just to run down a couple of highlights from Vengeance Day. I did a great post show with Connor Casey on Sunday night. It's a little over a half hour long. If you want to go check that out, it's over on our YouTube channel. And by the way, we're YouTube partners now, so you really should just watch the shit out of all of our videos now. I hope
watch them all, please.
Run them in the background, mute them. I really don't care. But anyway. We did a great post show. We ran down Vengeance Day in depth, talked a lot about all this stuff. I highly recommend you checking that out. It's also on the Haus of Wrestling podcast feed. But a couple big highlights. Obviously, Carmelo Hayes turned on Trick Williams. We got a follow-up on that last night on NXT. We also got to follow up on NXT of Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin winning the NXT Men's Dusty Rhodes Classic, and Lola Vice cashed in the Women's Breakout Tournament contract, which is now officially I guess was before, but the Money in the Bank of NXT.
Yeah, it's basically NXT Money in the Bank. It pretty much is at this point, yeah. I don't think, have they ever used it to cash in mid during the match? Is this the first time? I don't remember.
I think it's the first time it's been used like this. I do.
Yeah.
I think that in the past they just win it and then they call, hey, I'm going to get
They call their opportunity. Shot. Yeah, because the first one was Jordan Miles, who just announced it in advance, against Adam Cole and lost. So, yeah, I don't think they've ever used it in this way before.
And that set up Lyra Valkyria to have an open door for Stand and Deliver to take on somebody, and that set up Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice that seemed to be going into it. Now, the men's main event picture really took shape last night. We saw that rematch of Dijak and Ilya Dragunov, which if you really love stiff, hard-hitting action, go check out Dijak, Ilya Dragunov. And Bret Hart has some notes for them, by the way. I think Bret, I don't know that Bret loves Ilya Dragunov or Bryan Danielson's style. I don't know.
No, he doesn't strike me as the type to love them very much. No, as much as I do, I don't think Bret's a fan.
Just don't hurt people.
Yeah, maybe don't. Yeah, you can do strong style stuff, but maybe don't go that far.
That punch Dijak gave.
I was gonna say that GIF. If you there's slowdowns of that GIF, and he just literally full on leathers him in the face, and it's scary. I mean, he seemed fine, so. We're good, but
it reminded me of how Brock used to blade himself or get color the hard way. He'd run himself face first into a steel post, and he's like, "Well, don't give me a knife. I'll just do this." What a psycho! Well, I guess we're finding that out now. Well,
remember what Goldberg did at that Saudi show and headbutted the door and then concussed himself for the whole match?
Yeah, but that was an accident.
That was an accident, true. But like, it's the same kind of thing of like maybe don't do that. Maybe do it a slightly safer way.
Well, like Brett said, that's Bill Goldberg style wrestling right there. You know,
I love the man's ability to hold a 20+ year grudge at this point. It's wild.
Brett proud of his ability to wrestle a broomstick, mostly to mock Bill Goldberg's inability to wrestle a door.
Oh God, it gives me constant joy whenever I see Brett. Just occasionally, every couple of months, just go, I don't like Goldberg. And find different ways of doing it every time.
I got some Brett news. I'll tell you off the air. I don't want to tease it here, get everybody's hopes up. I got some Brett news off the air. I know. AEW. Let's get to some AEW news here real quick to round out the show. Tonight, Tony Khan has a huge announcement on AEW.
Another one.
They never stop. The TV Garden.
I want a list of every single announcement he's made at this point, because it just seems ridiculous at this point how many he's had.
I want to know what a huge announcement is. What's a big announcement?
What's the difference? We need classification of this. You've got rankings. We need announcement classifications here.
You know what? This sounds like a good way to drive traffic to the site. It is. Maybe we should be putting time into this.
We should do that's actually okay. I'll consider that. That's not a terrible idea.
Anytime we do full list of, it seems to do well for whatever reason.
Sure. Yeah, we could do. Oh, that's a good idea. I don't think anyone's done that.
Full list of every Tony Khan announcement ever.
Oh, I genuinely might do this. It's actually a good idea. Oh, I'm interested in this. That may be coming soon to houseofwrestling.com.
So anyway, back to the story at hand. Tony's latest huge announcement just so happens to coincide with the reveal on the TD Garden Facebook page. They're going to host an AEW show on March 13th. Of course, that's where Mercedes Mone is from, and she has been teasing something in Boston. And everybody seems to think Tony Khan's going to announce something about Mercedes Mone tonight.
Yeah, well, Dave Meltzer, I think, said last week that apparently Tony was meant to announce Mercedes arriving in AEW on the, I think, January 29th edition of Collision, but
that would have been the head-to-head one with the Rumble,
with the Royal Rumble, yes, but it got delayed because of the Vince allegations. So apparently that got pushed back. Sean Ross Sapp said it's not, so it's conflicting reports there, but it's worth keeping in mind. But it's
willing to announce her against the Rumble, but not willing to announce her against the Rumble and Vince news. That's too much drama.
He's got to choose his fight. He's got to choose his battles. But I think it's almost an inevitability at this point, because she's not going back to WWE. I think the New Japan Stardom thing is dead, especially with Rossy Ogawa gone. I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point. It's just a matter of if, not when, not if.
Well, we'll see tonight. I mean, I would imagine it's Mercedes Mone tonight. That seems to be it seems to be the victory lap a certain set of people.
I mean, is there any other
media.
possibility of what announcement could be? I can't think of anything else. There's not really anything else I can think of that you could.
Well,
say.
there's the news that Fox, ESPN, and Warner Brothers Discovery are
merging. I'm forgetting about that.
To launch that big OTT service with every sports franchise, I guess, under one umbrella.
Yeah.
Strap the cheese sauce to your veins, never leave the couch again type.
I mean, there's been stuff about HBO Max for ages, so maybe they could tie into that, but I don't know.
But first of all, we don't know if this huge streaming platform is even happening yet. I've had more than one person say, hey, SEC violation here. I don't know if all these people get together and just do that. So it's going to need to be approved before it can even move forward. I could be wrong.
Sure.
But that might be why Tony has not done the HBO. Maybe HBO Max isn't going to be hosting sports that much longer, right? Sure. Maybe Tony's been in an unenviable position of not being able to talk about where they're streaming because they don't even know what they're doing on their streaming end yet.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it was only before the Netflix deal last month that we were talking about maybe WWE going to Warner Brothers Discovery and that leaving AEW in a bit of a lurch. So you mean it's a very fluid situation, as you so neatly put earlier.
Fluid, right? Cash Wheeler, not great news for Cash. Not great news. AKA real name Daniel Wheeler has a new hearing set. First of all, prosecutors have decided to move forward with a new hearing where he could possibly be charged, which is not good.
Yes.
There was a chance, I believe, that this was just going to get dropped, but the prosecutors are moving forward with it. New hearing. Based off of the records that we found in the Orange County court clerk files. So that
maybe so.
I think I got that right. It's like a bit of a tongue twister.
Close enough.
February 20th is when Daniel Wheeler will be back in there if found guilty as a first-time offender on an aggravated assault with a firearm charge. He faces 5 years in prison, 5 years probation, and a $5,000 fine. Got kids. Right, wife, job, career. It's heavy. This is really heavy.
It's just weird. Like the whole situation. Like even when we covered it initially back in thingy, the whole how it all happened in that. When you read through the arrest from the report from the arresting police officer, it's a strange where he apparently some guy overtook him, so he just pulled out a gun and pointed it at him, and the guy feared for his life. It's where I don't understand where that sort of mentality of comes from. So, and it's strange that kind of AEW didn't say anything about it. I mean, he was at All In the week after, if I remember right. So, I mean, I'm glad that it's getting pushed forward, but it's strange.
It is. It's all been handled very, very strangely. I was very confused. I knew that they wanted. I mean, you got 150,000 fans, right? And Wembley showed up. And you want to deliver on that. You don't want to create a panic or have a bunch of people pulling out or anything like that. But it did feel very odd. And it still feels very odd to give somebody who potentially, violently threatened another person with a firearm, that kind of a platform and really rehabilitated his image in this situation as well. I mean, let's be honest here. Nobody had really been talking about this or Cash as a violent person until this hearing was scheduled again today. And if found guilty, and does time? Does it bring up questions about how this was all handled? I mean, we just I know it was for something completely unrelated to what I'm about to reference, but Tony said that they've got the safest locker room on the planet, right? There's a certain kind of trust, I think, is what Tony was trying to say in that locker room, where these people are all whatever, but if you got a guy who's willing to flash a gun at somebody and is found guilty of it as doing time, and you knew about it. Is that the person you really kind of want around? It just raises a lot more questions.
Yeah, especially considering he's been so prominent on AEW. I mean, less so since that incident. I feel like he's been him and Dax have both been slightly pulled away from TV, but it's still very bizarre.
Well, that's the weird thing about wrestling, right? When trouble comes along, you can script something to distract people from the problem. And that seems to be a refrain we are seeing over and over and over again across the board in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah, it's everywhere, especially. Well, we don't know. Maybe it's not the Cody thing, but who knows? We'll find out. Probably.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that the NFL is scripting this Super Bowl to make sure that everybody gets their liberal victories. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. George Soros funded Super Bowl. Wink, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All in jest. I assure you, very sarcastic.
Yes.
All right. Lastly, before we do some club housekeeping, I'm going to play the Nia Jax interview to close the show. Sunday night after Vengeance Day, which was early morning in Japan on Monday, I'm aware.
It was.
They started their week announcing Rosie Ogawa, the founder of Stardom, no longer part of Bushi Road. They terminated their contract. They said that he had been poaching talent, and it sounds like they got wind of him planning to launch his own promotion, and had been basically talking to women in Stardom to jump to his promotion, which is where I believe the poaching allegation came from. But then I don't know. You might know more about this than me. I'm just going to kind of slowly talk through what I think happened here. And then Tony Khan saw it, and he did like a victory lap. He put up these memes, and I think it's because now I don't know. Again, am I wrong? I think that Tony's upset because Rossi was denying him Stardom talent. Was he working against him?
The poaching thing, there's two sides to it. They weren't very clear in the statement. They just said he was poaching. They didn't say where or to who from. The two sides are either he was poaching it for his own promotion, which he is making his own promotion. That's been reported a couple of times now. Or that he was poaching for WWE. And it's been said, I believe Dave Meltzer said that Kyrie going back to WWE was partially to do with Rossy Ogawa. He hasn't specified exactly what, but there's
Japanese Gabe so he's Japanese Gabe Sapolsky.
Basically. Basically. But yeah, there was the talk about Kyrie and possibly Giulia as well going to NXT through that. But yeah, there's been that, and there's the Tony Khan thing is weird because obviously there's been no Stardom crossover in AEW, even at any of the Forbidden Door events, and it's maybe a thing of him thinking that Rossy Ogawa was blocking in talent because he was working with WWE. That's the only thing I can think of. But either way, it was a very it came across very petty to me as the second the figurehead of the second biggest company in the world tweeting like that just came across as very petulant to me, frankly.
Well, what doesn't these days with old Tony on social media?
This is true.
I'm looking for that strong adult. If you're looking for strong adult conversations, I don't know that. I think one-on-ones, maybe not the socials.
It's a weird situation. It's an odd situation. He's making a new promotion as far as I'm aware, and apparently Giulia is delaying her debut to help him with that. But
that's what Dave said. Yeah, Giulia is delaying her debut for WWE to help Ogawa launch his new promotion. There's a deal, I guess, in principle that after she helps him get this thing off the ground and start it up, she'll make the leap to WWE. That seems like a man who is working with WWE. If the relationship is that amicable,
exactly. And it's it makes sense with the whole talk of Giulia going to WWE, with Kyrie going there over a couple of months ago. And there's been what was I going to say? I can't remember. It's a strange situation. There was a point I was going to make, and maybe it'll come back in a couple of minutes, but I don't remember.
Maybe not, because we're at the end of the show. Hey, but that's a great way to get into our
tune in for Friday, and maybe I'll remember.
Yeah, maybe on Friday we'll get wherever Innes's brain was at. Well, of course, if you're listening to the show or you're watching this show live in video form recorded, you are a ClubHaus member, and we appreciate your patronage. You can catch Innes and I live first run here in the ClubHaus Wednesday and Friday. It is for all paid ClubHaus members. The tiers start at $5. Then after the show, we release it on podcast platforms. And then later in the day on our YouTube channel, you can smash that subscribe button, leave reviews, comments on all those platforms. We always appreciate it. The Vengeance Day show is available on all those platforms. I think that you might have to look into this with me. I did this without telling you, which I never do anything. I think I synced our Patreon with Spotify. So
okay, cool.
So I think you can go to Spotify now if you're a member and your membership is the same email as your Patreon and get all the audio that we upload on Spotify.
Let's have a look. I'll have a look just now.
But I think you have to be a member to do
Yeah.
it. And you're not a member, and I'm not a member, but we support the members. And I turned the settings on in Patreon. This is a horrible conversation for the show. I'll tell you afterwards what I did.
Excellent. Fantastic. I mean, if you want to do a full podcast of tech support, we can do. I don't think it'll be very entertaining, but we can do.
I'm trying to get this over the finish line for everyone. I know it is something.
We're getting there. It's fine.
Anyway,
We're getting there.
I'm getting too close to my microphone. We have interviews with the Creed brothers separately, Brutus and Julius. Julius, as you're watching this live, is not up, but it should be up by the time that the podcast is out, or very shortly after. We got both the Creeds up there. We put Gunther live over on our YouTube channel. That's available now. Natalia, that Nia Jax interview we're about to air is over there. And of course, Monday after Raw, I'll be doing a ClubHaus member exclusive post-Raw show with Gold member Matthew England, who really is like what a guy. We all love Matthew England so much. He does such what he works very, very hard. I don't want to. He told me what his real shoot job is, but I'm not going to tell you that because I've built a relationship with Matthew England. Okay. He hits me up. He got a question about wrestling. He hits me up. I get back to him. You know why? It's a Gold member. You get that direct Hausman line. So you don't have to go.
We should use that as a tagline in the Patreon. You get the Hausman line TM.
Yeah, it's like the bat phone, but but who has corded phones anymore? You know what I'm saying? So anyway. Go be a ClubHaus member, any tier, $5 up. You get all this great content, and I'll be in Vegas tomorrow, and all that content that I scoop up and create, I'll put there first before dropping out to the general public. Innes, anything you want to plug before we throw over to Nia Jax here to wrap up the show?
Just my usual Twitter at Innes_McVey. You can make sure to check out the Vince McMahon lawsuit if you haven't already, because you really need to educate yourself on that. There's still a lot of people on Twitter who don't really know what the full situation is. Please educate yourself, because it's something everyone should learn about.
Wonderful. And I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. I also think you should educate yourself on the Vince McMahon story if you haven't enough right now. But we're done talking about Vince for the day. We're done in general, but we have one more thing to go. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, my Royal Rumble media junket interview with Nia Jax. It's Nick Hausman here with House of Wrestling live on the Royal Rumble media junket, and I am joined right now by Nia Jax. Nia, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Man, so it was a year ago that you returned to the WWE fold at Royal Rumble. How has your mindset changed in the last year since you first came back?
You know, I feel as though I've gained a lot of confidence, and I've gained a lot of insight into how to, strategize and be focused out there. So I'm ready for this Rumble. I'm definitely ready to win it.
Now, a lot of people were surprised that you parted ways with the company in 2021. Like, why do you feel that happened? You're such a big name star.
Everything happens for a reason, and I think that, at that moment in time, I needed to be gone, and actually it's one of the best things that's happened to me personally, and I think now it's made me a better person to come back. Yeah. So it makes it an even better way to come back.
Now, you took a little time between the Rumble. I think it was September of last year you came back officially. Why the delay? Why didn't we see you come back right after the Royal Rumble?
I wasn't quite sure. I think the Rumble was just like a toe in the water to see how it felt. And then it felt great, I felt the energy. And of course, the WWE Universe is just intoxicating. And so I thought, I'm going to get back in the ring and get back in shape and then come back.
They booed the hell out of you.
I know, and I love it. Give me all the boos.
You like it when they boo you like that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible reaction. The fact that I can get these people so mad, who else could say that other than Tom and Nick?
There you go, Tom and Nick. Yeah, Tom and Nick, man, right? Like those.
Yeah, I know. They're trying to steal my thunder.
That wacky duo, Tom. So you are back. Back fighting Becky Lynch, still going on 5 years later. How does it feel to be revisiting that feud so long after you initially broke her nose?
Honestly, it's pretty incredible, because the fact that the fans still resonated with that story for 5 years ago, and they were still able to sink their teeth into the story, was incredible. So, and Becky's just incredible herself. So being in the ring with her was great, and punching her in the face again was even better. And then squashing her was just icing on the cake, Yeah,
for sure. And you had a run in NXT before you came to the main roster, and were very, very successful there. Now, a lot of main roster talent have gone back to NXT, got to play around in those waters, work with some of the younger talent. Is that something that intrigues you?
Oh, absolutely. I feel as though NXT has a great talent pool right now, and I'm a big fan of what they have going on there, so I wouldn't mind going back there and getting in the ring with them.
Yeah, what do you think of like Tiffany Stratton?
Oh, love watching her. Her little Tiffy time. I love that she's like the little spoiled brat. Love watching her. Love watching Lash Legend. Love seeing all the new talent they have coming up there. Kalani. And I wouldn't mind seeing what they could do with me.
Yeah, for sure. Now, it's interesting because you're coming back to the fold now as Paul Triple H Levesque, firmly in control of the creative direction. Now, that's a big change for the last 40 years. Now, talk to me a little bit about what is it like to go back to Gorilla, to have the shows put together with Paul running the show now?
Oh, well, Triple H was the brain behind Nia Jax. So like he hired me when I was after my tryout, and then he helped mold me in NXT. So it's kind of similar to like what I used to have in NXT in the black and yellow. And so I'm honored. Like it's great. I think he's got an incredible mind, and he really invests in all of us and cares about our feedback and helping us out. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but obviously there was some very upsetting news yesterday. How does that affect your mentality when you walk into a weekend like this?
Oh, it doesn't. I'm all business, and this business is built on hard work and dedication, and that's what every single wrestler in this room is doing right now. And so we just move forward, and it's and we're going to put on an amazing show.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, last question. Looking ahead to WrestleMania, there's some big celebrity matches. You seem like somebody that would mesh really well on a big stage with the celebrity of your choice. Is there somebody out there that you think would be the marquee Nia Jax celebrity match at WrestleMania?
Male or female?
You could pick. I mean, you've competed in the men and the women's Rumble.
True. I've always had a beef with Sal from Impractical Jokers.
Oh, yeah?
And I would love to get him in the ring and beat the crap out of him.
Fair enough. I mean, we looked what Knoxville did with Sami Zayn. They tore the house down.
Exactly. And I would tear him apart and tear the house down.
Wonderful. Nia, thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.